We're talking to Anya Ulinich, who's the author of Metropolis. I loved your book.
Thank you.
And I'm Russian, so I felt like I was in that like Khrushchevka with the flowered wallpaper all stained with
Weren't we all?
horrible meat being abused and
The universal
yes,
Russian
the universal
setting.
Russian experience, yes. And I just really loved your book. I love the attention to detail. I was blown away by the fact that it was your second language.
Thank you.
And I was very excited to learn that you're writing a graphic novel, or creating a graphic novel, I should say. And it's interesting that the graphic novel is coming after the just straight prose, after Metropolis. Like, you know, it seems like it would be a natural first step after art school. You had a graduate degree in art to do a graphic novel first, but you did a regular novel. So could you talk a little bit about your journey towards creating a graphic novel?
Well, sure. This is gonna sound so unprofound, but okay. When I first moved to New York, I was married and I had a small child, a 2-year-old. We lived in a shoebox-sized apartment, and I was planning to be a painter, and but I found it impossible for logistical reasons to paint. I always make a giant mess with my painting. I paint with oils. It's big things I paint. So it just was like no space and no time. And the reason I started writing was almost for it was space constraints. You could take a laptop at night when your husband comes home from work. You can leave the kid with him, take the laptop to a coffee shop and write, but you can't really take all of your paint mess to a coffee shop. And I couldn't really afford the studio. So I almost inadvertently wrote this book. And then I was very lucky that it got published, because I have never gone to a graduate program for writing. I have never taken any writing classes. I had never published before, so it just came out of nowhere. I had this fantastic agent, and suddenly I was a novelist, you know, like overnight. And that gave me this professional identity, so then I became a writer, and I was writing, and I kind of stopped drawing or stopped painting for a long time until, by accident, I have a friend who's an exhibit designer, and she was working with the New York Public Library doing a show about British Romantic poets, and they had an illustrator who was supposed to draw these big heads of like Percy Shelley and Lord Byron, and the illustrator then at the last minute couldn't do it. And so on Facebook there was this thing, who can draw these romantic poets in this style? And I was like, oh, maybe I can, maybe I still can draw, you know, it's been 10 years. And I got this job, and I drew Mary Shelley and Percy Shelley and Byron and all their sidekicks for the show, and I suddenly discovered not only that I can still draw, but the pleasure of it, right? And I was kind of stuck in terms of my writing. Like, I wrote my second novel, it was not that great, and you know, nobody was that excited about it. My agent, my editor were like, it's kind of, I don't know. So I started basically doing like this autobiographical comic book, and I found that the constraints of like speech bubbles, the space that it allows for text, really forces me to say what I have to say. So it was a combination of like this newfound pleasure of drawing with the fact that it really just forces you to get your ideas out. Whereas my novels, they tend to like sprawl. It's a lot of like sort of anguish, and I don't know what exactly is going to happen, and it just grows bigger and bigger and more amorphous. And suddenly with like hand-drawn text in the speech bubble, there was not that problem. And I found myself just telling a story again, and found this momentum that I had felt with my first book. So I was pretty happy doing it, so I kept doing it. That's the answer. It's really long and kind of unsuccinct.
No, it's very good. I'm excited because all of the paintings on your website seem to have been replaced by Japanese spam. Like when I looked at it, and my takeaway from this whole experience of interviewing authors here is that there should be a grant to keep authors updating their websites. There should be like a special incentive.
What happened is I did not pay my ISP, and some Japanese outfit bought the thing and filled it up, kind of kept half of my content and half. But I did managed to talk to Google about it. Like,
okay.
And they had removed it from my Google results. At least now, when people look up my name, they don't see the Japanese.
Well, I did manage to find some of your paintings through, wily internet searches, and I was really impressed. I'm a geek when it comes to graphic novels. I'm really looking forward to yours.
Great, thank you.
And would you like to expound on anything you might be obsessed with that has nothing to do with writing or books right now?
Oh, that's terrible. I shouldn't expound on that. I get like
A food
obsessed.
thing, a hobby.
It's usually either like a wrong man or a bad TV show, so I better not expound.
You won't even give a hint to the bad
Absolutely
TV show?
not.
A bad TV
No,
show?
absolutely
That's
not.
safe. Okay.
No, you can't even imagine, so I would rather not even.
Well, we'll
Yes.
just be left with
Yeah, just
conjecture.
better keep it a mystery.